That also might have incentivized people to use it because it is somewhat asserting power or claiming power, or at least attempting to, or communicating with the people of power. And then it sort of becomes self-sustaining because other countries think, for example, the Scots language.
This is a clip from a TED Talk from Michael Dempster.
And the holes were only holes.
The share of people aged 25 to 54 with a job recently, that's really largely come from women and women coming back into the labor force. So, if you think about some of those factors that we were talking about earlier about, so we often talk about occupational segregation as being a bad thing for women. So occupational segregation being the fact that women and men are often clustered.
How do you do this on a large scale with thousands of kids from some of the poorest and most violent neighborhoods in Chicago? You can't bring them all in for one-on-one psychotherapy. As it turned out, Jens and Harold found a local group called Youth Guidance that was already trying something similar. It was offering kids a kind of low-budget psychotherapy within their neighborhood schools. There was nothing fancy about the program. Kids checked in with counselors regularly, talked about it. Brian and I are headed to the top floor. My first instinct is to find the elevator, but it's nowhere in sight. Did you forget to put an elevator in the building, Brian?
We do have an elevator through the door to the left. If you're in a wheelchair or you're not able to climb the stairs, you just hit the button there.
And we'd make it happen. And the result, though, is that it doesn't often, because willpower is not actually, we have found, on what we are doing already, because it's so much easier. It's very hard to exert that kind of control. So in a way, what the government was doing is it was making...
Era noaptea, era un băiat, sau era dimineața de tot cu revista presei? Bă, nu mai știu, dar în orice caz, era un băiat care făcea revista presei la OTV și care era singur în studio. Îți jur că era... Victor, băra, de la marea forță din univers! Să lucreze prin tine, cumva a fost înțelegerea înainte să vii pe pământ. Înțeles. Deci secretele întregii vieți, învățăturile care ți-au fost ascunse, da? Marea forță, frecvența energiei din tot universul, toate astea, a ce sună ție?
A Dumnezeu, ceva.
Atât Iisus, asta e pagina 90, atât Iisus cât și oamenii care îl înconjurau nu au crezut niciodată că El este Dumnezeu. La pagina 112 încep.
Deci se întâmplă ceva care nu ține de tine, nu ține de organism, nu ține nici de procesele tale de conștiință.
Un imperiu de fenomene noi se arată observației noastre. Bogăția și diversitatea lor sunt așa de mari încât avem dreptul să nădăjduim în cuceriri din ce în ce mai neprevăzute. Adică gen, bă, eu chiar cred că o să ajungă să dovedească ăștia căcatul pe care îl mănânc eu acum. Exact asta și că scriu ăsta la începutul că
care să deflectezi conflictul, să-l... Da. Și atunci îți creează, îți dezvoltă partea asta, dar mă gândeam că și
never stopping unui băiat care își bagă în venă sau... Da, exact asta, știi? Adică
găsește ce-ți place și lasă-l să te omoare și unul cu heroin.
Da.
Da, mersi.
Cred că la asta se referea Bukowski, da, find what you love and let it kill you. Da. Autobuze, mi-e place foarte mult autobuze.
I carry a piece of vacant land for Christmas and she is very mad at me.
Why is she mad, Hank?
Because she explicitly said that she does not want a lot for Christmas.
It's an all I want for Christmas is you joke. And I think the thing that you're forgetting here is that there's probably like 90 Christmas carols, of which like 30 are big hits, enough to become a villain, because they were the like radical counterculture hippies.
Human blood works and human blood types are well understood.
Decade. Yeah, so my favorite TV show of the decade was The Americans, which is about it's about marriage,
very strange things, but like in a way that like made very good sense for the tone of the show and the characters and the themes of the show. And also, like, it was ultimately mostly like, as is the thing that I like most, is a show about good people in normal situations.
And Chevy Chase. What was your favorite trip of this decade?
My favorite trip was probably when Catherine and Oren and I, when Oren was 6 months old, went to Amsterdam for VidCon London. And the first few days were terrible because VidCon was happening at the same time as my 6-month-old was trying to adjust to.
Who has no relationship to Liverpool. Drinking, that I will always be grateful for. It means a lot, as you know, Hank, when somebody wants to include you
in a moment that's so important to them.
Has all very similar values to me, and sort of I feel like is always going to be there. And when I'm having a rough time, when I'm frustrated by something, when someone's let me down, when I feel like I've let someone else down, and isn't there to excuse me, but is there to
one entry per person, which makes the marathons a special kind of lottery, a uniform lottery. So good that they're just recruited to show up and run the race in 2 hours and 30 minutes. You're Greek, where the marathon is from.
That's right.
You don't feel any extra obligation to run a marathon because you are Greek.
No.
Paris, Eden, Berlin. When I was talking to that MIT professor, Kostis Daskalakis, about mechanism design, he told me that you always have to think about how somebody is going to game your system.
At a big economics.
It's going to be an intellectual sprint. And at one moment, a literal sprint.
So you're going off to the sprint you hear all the time in economics.
Every economist thinks on the margin.
So we're here at AEA. There are a lot of parties at AEA, like at a lot of conferences. Talk me through how to think about drinking at a party at a conference when you're...
It comes up all the time because we have very frequently, we're thinking about, who should do what task. And I think
disorienting. For the soldiers, it was the same kind of betrayal you'd feel from your mom if she started charging you for meals, even if she gave you a really good price.
Because after all, she is your mom. You have to pay someone to move your bag from one place to another. That just makes intuitive sense. But the idea that you would have to pay someone to have a conversation with them, that just doesn't make sense.
I think of it like there's two different kinds of free things. There are free things that you would name as
Stutson, Oliver Wang, and David Goodhertz. Fact-checking by William Brennan. Our technical director is Andy Huther, and our senior vice president of programming is Anya Grunman. Special thanks to Mark Memmott, Micah Radner, Emily Vogel, Evan Donahue, Alex Hainsworth, and Henry Holgertz. Music for this episode.
To have the packaging fee. A battle, in part, over which agency would reap the profits from the show if it were to become a hit. And it ultimately became so contentious that
today on the show, we will check in on the vast mail delivery conspiracy known popularly as the Universal Postal Union. The rest of the story.
The Indicator is a little show that tells big stories about the economy. In just 10 minutes, we tackle important
Stay with us. Up first is producer Joe Rosenberg. Okay, so Joe, what do you have for me?
What I have for you, Roman, is a story that I have been sitting on for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those Planet Money pitches that I never sent to Planet Money.
I got a drawer full.
Yeah. It actually starts my familiarity with it starts about 5 years ago.
Gave me a gigantic paper check like you see on TV.
Why'd they do that?
Well, so full disclosure, they actually